All right, we can get started with some introductions. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 2022 Graduate Open House. My name is Jennifer Hewins. I'm Grad Recruitment Coordinator. You'll be seeing my face a lot throughout the rest of the week. So I apologize in advance. You'll be sick of me by the end of the week. But today, the last session we have for today, we're with a Masters of Industrial Design. With us today, I have the Graduate Program Director, along with some current students. With that, I'll pass it over to Ayoko.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for organizing this and thanks for coming. I can't see your face, but I see your names. So I'm a Graduate Program Director for Master of Industrial Design program, and I have with me 4 current MIT students, and I want them to kind of introduce themselves. We'll be doing this info session, which is a little bit more heavy on the contents, and then we'll move to a more informal session for anybody who may have more kind of specific question. That group can be really intimate, and they will have first-hand experience to answer. So Cynthia, you want to start? I have Cynthia, Jack, Hunching, and we are in that order, so maybe you can just go like that.
Sounds good. Hello, I am Cynthia. Pronouns she, hers. I'm part of the 2-year program. This is my 2nd year. I'll pass. My background, my undergrad was in electrical engineering, which was really cool. And I'm going to pass it on to Hanqing.
Hello, my name is Hanqing. I'm in the same class as Cynthia, also a 2nd year grad. And my undergrad background is preventive medicine and public health. Really glad to be here. And I'm going to pass it to Jack.
Hi everyone, my name is Jack. My pronouns are he, him. I'm in the 2.5 year program, and so my background is in behavioral science and child development. Beer.
Hey guys, my name is Veer. I am in the 2-year MIT program. I'll be graduating in 2024, so this is my first year, so I'm fresh to this whole thing. My background was in ID as well, and I graduated this year in May.
All right, so I am going to share screen. Should I just write over? Okay, all right, great. Hold on a second. During the, can you see this? No. Are you seeing the presenter notes? This always happens with the dual screen, so hold on a second.
There we go.
Now.
Perfect.
All right, great. So I can't see chat. Or are you doing a Q&A and kind of following that?
Yep, I'll manage.
Okay.
I'll manage the chat. As you're going through the presentation, I'll put some helpful links in the chat. Once you mention something in particular, I'll put a link to it for more information, and I'll be looking at the chat in the Q&A.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, so this is a sort of an introduction and dive into MIT program, both 2 years and 2.5 year program. And at any point, if you have, okay, trying to proceed. 1 second. You hearing my error command? I can't proceed. I think it's stuck. Hold on a second. All right, I'm going to share again. Pardon me. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. At any point, if you have questions, please write in the Q&A, and you can also hold the question to more informal session as well. But I'm just going to go through this. So welcome. We are the MIT program at RISD, and we are going to go over today about MIT mission, curriculum, studio thesis work, some examples, and other fellowship and graduate assistantship and other sort of like scholarship financial information that a lot of people seek, as well as a little bit of post-graduation, what alums are doing. So MIT mission, it is the RISD MIT program is about building a bridge between your past practice in your future place. So a lot of people come from, as you could see from just a group mixture of background, from the engineering to more sort of liberal arts aligned to medical to like industrial design. Some of them come from graphic design, architecture to anthropology. It's really mixed, behavioral science. It's really wide range. And we do this for reason to have a really diverse group of people that could kind of influence and support in different areas. Because if we just gather, all the same background people, it's too homogeneous. So we really concentrate on getting diverse group of people in all aspects. And we explore design as a vehicle for addressing social, cultural, and sort of environmental concerns and making an impact forward. That it's not just about, making products, right? So it's about service design, the system design strategy, material science, engineering, and sort of like, psychology, all those things. That it's to kind of create positive change and impacts forward. So MIT curriculum is split into 2-year program and 2.5-year program. And we get a lot of questions about which program that you're supposed to apply to. And it's really not a black and white process. So if you do have more of a design background and training, you may want to consider 2-year program, and you can talk to the folks who did come to 2.5 and 2-year later on to see which one fits the bill. Some design trained people do take 2.5-year program just so that they could have longer and more sort of like the rich RISD experience as well. But 2.5 years catered so that 0.5 year that you put before the 2-year program, you get to be exposed to sort of an introduction to industrial design, what that's about, as well as studio culture of how the critique works and how to create things and get used to studios and shops. And so it's a really rich group of people kind of working with also undergrad for the 1 semester. So that's a very sort of specific and unique to 2.5-year program. So I'm going to go over the 2.5-year program first. 0.5-year part is actually sort of starts in January, which is the winter session. So RISD is a trimester program with fall semester, which is a long semester. We have a very short winter session. Is it 5 or 6 now? 5 weeks? Do you know? 5, but yeah. 5 weeks of concentrated. You get to focus on 1 to 2 classes, and you should really dive deep. So for this 0.5-year program, students come in to take intro to ID. And that's all typically you do. You can technically take other course as well, but we recommend that you just kind of focus on this. Pretty intensive dive into the industrial design and what goes in making it industrial design, learn about different aspects of this field. And then in spring, you take shop orientation, which is sort of like getting used to the shop and shop tools. You also have a communication introduction. And you dive into junior and senior studios called Advanced Studio, where you get to take classes in different various topics. You get to choose one studio that meets twice a week and pursue sort of like a specific topic engaged studio. And you have an option of taking elective. And then first year and second year follows. There are requirements that you have to take as graduate studio 1 and 2, but other things are filled with electives where you get to kind of design your curriculum. So if you want to pursue more fine arts driven things, you get to do that, or liberal arts, industrial design also have a undergraduate and graduate electives. So you kind of, it's not you have a lot of room to kind of craft what you want to study and pursue. And then for the second year, sorry, I apologize. The names for the studio have changed, but I forgot to update it. But it's basically diving into thesis, and some of people just do thesis in the fall, winter session, and spring. Some people kind of take a little distraction and actually teach. So I think Cynthia this year is teaching winter session course that she crafted from scratch and teaching the undergrad and grad students. I saw that there are lots of wait lists. Students, so congratulations, and we look forward to hearing about it. So you have a teaching opportunity as well, but you take thesis, and second year is all about that, right? And for 2-year program, which is short, but it's really kind of action-packed. First year is pretty, first semester you come in is pretty set in that you take Graduate Studio 1 and short orientation communication. All those things are kind of packed and you only get to choose one elective. But moving forward in a winter session and spring, you have more room. And in thesis year, same thing happens where you get to, take seminars and electives on top of thesis. I think it's now called Thesis Studio 1, and Mapping and Narrative, which is a different name for a thesis communication. And either get to take electives or open research and then continue on to thesis. And this is a little bit about a thesis. Thesis here is the sort of like the biggest thing. You don't have to know what you want to study when you come, but it is just a good thing to know is that it finishes with a final body of work, a book that you need to craft as a thesis book, and you also have to exhibit. And this is amazing, sort of like a RISD-wide graduate experience in the convention center. It's planned for 2023. Under one roof, all the graduates kind of have the space designated to themselves. You get to design and put all your, years worth of work there. And RISD Museum also have a grad show online showcase. So if you want to see examples of, what grad's experience is like and thesis are like, I really highly recommend checking those out. And Digital Commons also have a documentation of the thesis books. So please visit. So these are fun part. Some of the past studio and thesis work examples from the first year to second year. So this is an example of sort of more discursive experimental projects that Grad Studio 1 students sometimes get to explore. And this is by Suni, where she was exploring the fast food, but eating slowly, or you have to eat slowly to experience this fast food. So it's sort of like juxtaposition of actual experience in the culture of the food. So that, it's a simple mock-up, but it's really fun project to share. Another discursive project by Yang Stephen is, so he was experimenting with sort of way in which people speak and accents, and came up with a collection of beautiful sort of metal objects inspired by dental tools, as you can probably see, to correct how you use your tongue and mouth and teeth to pronounce. So it looks like you're putting these sort of like braces inside of your mouth, but you actually correct to be more perfect. You're culturally is kind of challenging and challenging the fact that like a standardized English and how you're supposed to speak, and to sort of like create these beautiful yet also kind of also scary tools to correct your pronunciation. So this finished with a beautiful collection of objects. And this was in Graduate Studio 2, where it's a little bit more commercial application. You have to sort of challenge not just yourself, but also designing for a specific audience. This was Hyunsuk designed a sort of like home application of algae growth. So different shade of green shows the algae growth. Darker there is more algae, and you get to harvest, and then you clean the tank, and you start fresh as a clear. And it became this sort of like a motif panel in the living space. So it was, half discursive, but half also useful application. And a lot of people who graduate here are also going into more of digital or interface, interaction design, UI UX design. This was one of the example from the COVID time when, we all just moved to Zoom, and everybody hated Zoom for educational reasons. And the student, Evan, redesigned Zoom specifically for education. So we don't just do physical things, but we do lots of, digital to other medium as well. This was also the Graduate 2 project where Alize challenged sort of like a taboo religious object where it's a praying mat, and noticing that praying mat was never really designed for her, that she's decided to design specifically for her demographic, who is so female and a young religious folks who need to pray and sort of like balance the modern life. So she came up with lots of adaptations, really strong graphic elements, and I think, sorry, it's a functionally aesthetically inclined mat. So for Muslim interested in exploring exciting new way to for sort of deepening connection between the religion. So she actually crafted a prototype, and then these little updates with the pockets and touch points. It was a really well made product. And Elena, who graduated is it 2 years? Yes, so 2021. She and the one of the students' thesis work actually were picked up by Salon de Mobile in Milan, Lost Graduation Show. So their thesis got showcased in Italy. She explored the local fishery waste. So this one example she used was the sort of squid waste, squid ink and squid skin that it gets discarded at the sort of like harvesting moment. And she created a garment and tools sort of to explore how industry such as fishery and other sort of means they could coexist. And it was an amazing garment. I don't know if you saw the focus here. And I was showcased in Italy. And recently, Andin, who graduated last year, also, this was not a Milan show, but she won the IDSA Student Merit Award in the Northeast District and got to present in this IDSA conference this past fall. She investigated a lot of sort of like food system design for NASA spaceship. Also, she did lots of garments, and also her really strong thing, which I didn't include her thesis work here, but she did engage with her own sort of like Vietnamese culture and how it really is not it doesn't fit sort of like, US standard, the matrix. So she came up with her own way of, for this example is her family recipe pho. She created these little bit of this and a little bit of that sort of impromptu way of making food, and how she could present as a serving collection and reflected sort of like the odd shaped nesting set, which was a really beautiful prototype. We didn't get to taste this in the credit, which she's also a really great chef. And she was a term appointed professor here last year, but she's also MIT alum. You might have seen her work, but her work was featured in many different places, including Cooper Hewitt. She explored the biomaterial. So this is now moving into more of a thesis zone, I forgot to mention that, but she created this clear, totally functional rain jacket out of algae. She basically created her lab in her apartment and kind of spent her whole thesis year making material. And she is leading sort of like climate crisis and is design explorations. And I can't really wait to see what she does next. And another thing, I just wanted to have a little bit more of a digital presentation of work. And this was his way of visualizing data in a different way. So instead of sort of relying on likes or sort of like a categories of content, these rings of colors and sort of like inspired by the rings of the tree, it creates different impressions. So he worked making algorithm to see, so these are the example of different people speaking on different topics and following hashtags and contents, it creates different rings, right? So he explored these many different ways of visualizing so that at glance you could tell what kind of content creator you are and sort of like a different way of analyzing. So this is sort of like his thesis of digital analysis. And this is an example of the book. Thesis book can be many things, but this was one done by Rebecca Erde in 2019. As you can see on the right, it's a different format. There's some people hand-bound this beautiful handbook to a handmade book to, sometimes it's a zine format, sometimes it's a, online bounded things. But we get to keep these things in the library, and so it's like a beautiful collection of work. And these are an example of thesis show. I forget which year this is. But as you can see, each student has a little section and get to showcase different things. And now I'm going to move into what we have as a facility. We have what do we call a CIT building, which is in Providence downtown. That's where the MID studio is. And then there's another building called ID building on 161 South Main Street is another name for it, is where the main industrial design department resides with undergrads, but you will be using both places. MID main studio where you hold the desk is there, but then ID building has lots of studios that you might be taking studios or electives, and they have lots of shops, wood shop, metal shop, window shop, beautiful shops. But also CIT building has a grad specific makerspace that you can access all the time as well. So this is sort of some of the metal shop and wood shop view to grad studio. This is makerspace. Now makerspace is updated with, we just got a Formlab printer as well, but we have, really basic sort of digital making and hand making tools. We also don't have Festoons included in here. We have a photo setting, and this is the messy, beautiful studio from last year at night. I don't know if I included a new photo, some of them here. Oh yeah, you're there, Cynthia. And this is the MID main facility, the CIT. So we use it as desk space and then crypt space and classroom space. Moving on to fellowship and assistantship. So we have a fellowship and most of the students applying will receive fellowship. The range varies based on merit and needs as well. But there are additional sort of like a scholarship that I would like you to know, as well as what we call a graduate assistantship that comes, it is a type of fellowship, but you have to actually work for it as a teaching assistant or research assistant or other sort of a program assistants. So MIT fellowship is sort of like you will receive it as a tuition remission. And the range again varies, and you'll be awarded at your when you get accepted. And there's a fellowship called Presidential Fellowship, and everybody who applies will be automatically eligible for this, so you don't have to do any special things. But sort of one student or two students from each program is selected to advance to presidential fellowship sort of applicants to receive school-wide presidential fellow program. So as I said, you don't have to do anything, but this will give you a full scholarship. So this is an opportunity that we have, and more information is on the graduate office website. And in addition to that, we have a building toll fellows, which is specifically for industrial design or architecture students. You have to be a first generation student, meaning you're the first, I believe, not a graduate, but the college students of the family. And you also have to have sustainability as a focus of your study to be selected. No additional application is required, but your statement has to reflect, and your portfolio also reflect this sustainability focused work to be considered. And then other financial assistance is that you get to work as a graduate assistant as a research assistant for professors, teaching assistant, and program assistant who helps run the department and events. And so right now, I think everybody here have some sort of assistantship. Cynthia runs the communication team. Hanqing and Veer are the admission grad assistant, and Jack is now working as a teaching assistant, right? Yes, and also if you teach a class, you get to be a faculty of record, and that's what Cynthia is doing as well. And we also have a small but sort of like industrial design department scholarship that comes at the end of the year. So if you just come in, you may not have this, but at the end of that first year that you're here, or if you're starting as a 0.5-year student in that spring, you get to apply for a small amount of money, but it's a departmental scholarship. And also we have an ID Health Fund, which is revolving as long as you can relate or make a case that your project is related to health, you can apply for a sort of material cost, and it covers. Also, school has a material fund as well, which is limited, smaller than health fund, but there are ways to sort of supplement your project cost. And this, I just put a new, so it might be new to everybody here as well. But we get a lot of questions about where are the graduating alums. So this is sort of really quick data. It's not fully accurate, but you can kind of see the pie and the type of work that people do. So a lot of people are in the UX and sort of product design architecture area, but a lot of them also start their own business. And it's not just the freelance, but the entrepreneur and actually having a business running. And a lot of people in education, and then spreading around is the strategy research. But these also positions and type of sort of titles, they overlap. So some people might be doing UX and design research at the same time. But I think you can see sort of like a demographic of where they end up. They work for big name companies as well as small, kind of niche little boutique places, really successful entrepreneurial startups, and a lot of people in K-12 and higher education working as a researcher or professor. So I think that is the end of it, but there is a document created last year, which is really useful, frequently asked questions, and I will drop in the chat once I get out of this thing, but also there is a link to the Zoom that we are going to move on to. You don't have to write that down. We'll also drop that in the chat once I get out of the screen share. That's it from me.
That was great. Thank you, Ayoko. So as Ayoko mentioned, I'm going to drop the Zoom link in the chat. This conversation's going to sorry, just navigated away from it. This conversation is going to continue into that Zoom right there. It's going to be a more intimate Q&A. It won't be a webinar style, it'll be a meeting style. I think there's only about 13 people here. So you can go over to that, and that way the students and Ayoko can see your faces if that's what you want, to answer all of your questions about the program.
Okay, 1 second, let me also, that's the panelist, so I have to do that again. Hold on. So I just placed the FAQ page that has a lot of sort of great information there as well.
Super helpful.
Okay. Were there questions that we needed to answer now, or?
Nobody dropped any questions in the Q&A?
Okay, all right, great. Oh, hey, Anna.
So I'm happy to stay here in case anybody comes on late. I can send them over to your Q&A. But yeah, that's it
Okay.
for the presentation portion. Thank you
All
so
right,
much, everybody.
so yes, I guess people are already moving to the next place, so we'll go there. So Anna, we're jumping to the other one. Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Everybody, my pleasure.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
You too.